Hi, so this is Linni and the Search. You're probably wondering, what the heck is a Linni and the Search? Well, I'm Linni, and this podcast is The Search, where I talk to people, interview people, or I just go on hikes, see new sights, and just comment on that. I've always adored movies and stories where the hero or heroine would go on some kind of a journey or quest to find themselves, to get better, to defeat whatever evil or problem that ailed them. I would have never guessed that that kind of thing would literally happen to me. Um, it's funny because if you were to ask or speak to anybody who really knows me, they would never tell you that I would be caught dead out hiking or sitting on the beach or the ocean. I was never that kind of person. I've always liked the concrete jungle, being in a city, going to nightclubs, bars, hanging with friends, stuff like that. But I guess life, being life, had a whole separate plan for me. Man, it's crazy to even think about. It's been almost 4 months since my story really started. Um, Last year, let's see, in 2019, my original job, which was in bankruptcy, I'd been there for about, God, almost 10 years. And every day I would wake up miserable, hating it. I don't, I honestly don't know why I stayed there that long. I think it was because I didn't really have a choice. At a young age, I found out I was going to have a little boy. And at that time, I was on unemployment. So my father, being my father, had always told me that I should be in law. Always. Like, he would always call me and ask me, was I going to law school? Was I reading any law books? He said, as a black man in this country, it was imperative that I knew the laws just in case. But I think my dad thought I was a punk. I don't think he believed I had what it took on the streets to live that street life, which I definitely didn't. So he was just like, you could take your ass and you'd be on the other side. You do the law thing. So I listened to him and I went to school and I became a paralegal. And I hated every second of it. It was just 10 years of slow death. I mean, I'd be at work and I would have to crank my headphones as loud as possible just to drown out my own sadness. And even worse is I would have to get lit up. So I'm talking like I would roll myself a blunt in the morning and smoke the whole thing before I went to work because I hated it. I know they know though. I tried to pretend like they didn't, and I know they knew, but I feel like they were just so gracious because they could tell I was miserable. They were just like, we'll correct his mistakes and we'll just leave him alone. Oh my God, thinking about it, I feel so stupid. It could have been so bad. They could have fired me. It could have gotten so bad, but I'm so thankful that didn't happen. It's crazy though, thinking about that job, thinking about my life now. I never thought there would be a day where I would wake up and not go to that place. And here it's been almost a year since I've been there and just don't miss it at all. Not even a little bit. I miss the people though, the people that were really cool. Um, the reason why I talk about this job is because, like the podcast says, it's the search. I'm searching for answers and I'm searching for a lot of things. One thing is just a better understanding of what this world is, what the universe is. This is probably one of the first real times that I would say the universe really heard me when I cried out. One day, feeling at my absolute lowest, I just cried. I broke down at work and I had to be excused, and I went into the bathroom and I just said, God, universe, um, whatever is out there here that I am hurting, I am sad, and I feel so desperate because I don't want to be here. The only thing I want to do in this life is make music, DJ, and just give people that release that we all need and deserve. You know, I love music. I love dancing. Oh my God, do I love it. I think I got a lot of my music, I got a lot of my musical background from my mom and dad. They would play gospels literally every morning. You'd get up, get dressed for school, and there would be Mahalia Jackson playing. There would be, oh my gosh, Kirk Franklin playing, or Bishop T.D. Jakes. I mean, always gospels, always R&B, always classics playing. So yeah, I just said all I want to do is that. That's the only time when I feel like I have a worth in this life, is when I'm DJing, when I'm making music, when I'm making beats. Everything in this life becomes clear. My brain gets clear. I feel like I have a purpose. But when I'm not doing that, I feel miserable. And so I said, please, whether I have to suffer, whether I have to be broke, whether I have to damn near die, get me out of here. Make a way for me to follow this dream, because I would rather die than live a life where I'm not doing that, because I know that's what I was made to do. 2 days, you guys. 2 days. 2 days. The owner slash, I guess, CEO came out one day out of his office and he said, at the end of this year, probably more towards September, we're going to close the doors. And I'm retiring. The whole office went quiet because we all kind of knew something was up, but none of us knew the magnitude of what was really going down. And none of us knew the effects it would have on us, our morale, and just how we felt about ourselves. When I got that news, I was beside myself. I couldn't believe it. I could not believe it, because I was like, here I am, dying, and something heard me. Something really heard me. And not only did they hear me, they came with a quickness. Like there was a literal 2-day turnaround. Like, that's crazy. That's just crazy to think about, you know? And it just gets crazier from there. Though I should have, I did not completely pour myself into finding another job or finding anything else, though I know I should have, but I believe if I did, I wouldn't be here right now. I decided to just pour myself into making beats and DJing. Well, I did do some online resumes and stuff like that, you know, but nothing worthwhile that I really wanted or thought I could see myself doing in the law field. Nobody ever came back with anything. The only people who would call me were like scammers or those job hiring development places that'll place you and like teach you stuff. And I was like, I already went to college. I don't need that. Like, I'm not interested in getting a job development. It just wasn't where, it's not what I want, you know? So I just let those things fall by the wayside, all the while being completely terrified. I mean, I'm human. I had no idea what was coming. I had no idea what my life would be, you know? The crazy thing is about 5 years prior to this, I had met this guy who had worked in his whole life in the cannabis weed industry. I never saw myself really being associated with anybody like this, because growing up, it was church, gospels, reading the Bible, doing things like that. Just drugs, weed, alcohol. That just wasn't something that my mom really talked about and or tolerated, you know? So it was just, I judged people. Anybody who smoked weed, I judged. Anybody who drank alcohol, anybody did any of that kind of stuff, I would judge because I believed I was right. I believed I was living the right life. I believed I was being told the right things. It would take my mom passing for me to learn that good people can drink, good people can smoke weed, good people can do mushrooms and still be good people. Those things accentuate or bring out problems you might have, sadnesses you might keep inside, but that isn't what makes you a bad person. You see what I'm saying? And that's what I thought. I thought anything that was deemed bad by doing made you a bad person, an ungodly person, so I stayed away. So it's funny that the universe is how the universe is and put this person into my life that would forever change my fucking life. Through this guy, I learned a lot about weed. A lot of the kinds, the strains. I learned how to grow it. I learned how to make useful tinctures and oils, and I learned how to do a lot of things through this guy over those 5 years. And a few months before my boss came out and told us all that he was shutting the place down, this guy we'll name him Specs. I don't know why I'm going to call him Specs, but that's just what we're going to call him. So Specs, who was very much in the weed game, he had said, hey man, you've been around these last few years and you've kind of seen my business, you've kind of seen how things go. I'd like to hire you to completely run my weed farm. So I was like, man, like that's so far outside the way. B, I don't see myself doing it. That's not who I am. Again, like I like making music, I like making beats, I like doing things like that. Sure, I worked with you to make money on the side and helped and grinded and hustled with you, but that was all because it was taking me somewhere not here. You know what I mean? A couple months later, I find myself going to be out of a job. So I call up Specs. I was like, hey man, it looks like this might work out. I think I can do this. If you're sure I can still go work out, I can still see my son, and every other weekend, the other guy you hired is going to come rotate with me. So I'll still have my life. And he's like, yeah, everything like that'll be fine. I just need you to do this, that. There was a lot that I'm not going to talk about. I had to do there. So the funny thing is that I still think is hilarious. When I first saw this cabin that I would soon or later come to live in, the first time I saw this thing, it looked like one of the cabins out of or the house out of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. This cabin was fucked up. There was like spiders the size of Kingdom Goddamn Come and rats and it's just a shitty cabin in the middle of the woods, middle of nowhere. And I was like, hey, I was like, fuck this, man. Like, you want me to get raped or murdered or something? Like, this is not going to happen. So over like the course of a few years, he hired this guy, and he turned the whole place around. This fucking cabin went from being a murder house to like a pimp house, or like a fucking, not a pimp house, oh my god, penthouse. Like, it was just dope. You would, like, when you got there, you're like, is this a fucking bed and breakfast? Because this does not look like somewhere you go to get murdered. So when I finally saw how it was redone, I was like, yeah, I could do this. I'll still have my life. I'll be getting like a monthly wage from you. So yeah. So everything was set up for me to do that, and that I would have moved into that place March of 2020, just to bring you out the time and how recent this was. It was because it was pretty recent. Last year, everything was in the works. Things were looking good. When my legal job came to an end, I thought I was going to be able to get unemployment, and I did not. Most situations, I would not opt for unemployment because it's just, I would rather get a job and work for myself, do for myself. In this situation, I thought maybe unemployment could float me from October of 2019 to March of 2020. Unemployment did not. It would be months before unemployment would ever show up. So I ended up having to work in the cannabis, like legitimately work in the cannabis industry from October through the end of the year, just to survive, which, people do crazy things everywhere to survive. So that's nothing. Corona happened. February, the world was pretty normal. Towards the end, Corona was like a full-blown thing. And I was in a position because the place I was living at was being sold. They were selling to a new owner. I was like, I'm not gonna have anywhere to live for 2 months. The world seems to be for a month, the world seems a little crazy. Specs, he was worried because he didn't know what was going to happen with the cannabis. There was a murder of a cop who was probably, I believe, was a detective, and I don't know if the suspects or the people who actually committed the crime were cartel members, but that's what the word around town was. So, Corona's happening. The law enforcement in this county has a full-on rager for any criminal activity, whether deemed legal, recreational, or not. Like they were just on the hunt. So there was a lot of fear of the unknown of what was going to happen. But then we decided that I had to move up there. I had to move up there a month early because we had to start building, we had to start constructing, we had to do a lot of things because the time schedules were shifted because of Corona, and we had no idea what kind of time we were looking at. So we were hedging our bets. We were going to just do as much as we could in hopes that we would make it through the summer, because the world's on fire now, and the cops everywhere. Every morning you wake up, I'm waking up at 100 because I know the cops want all this cut down, burned down, shut down. They don't want no recreational weed around anything. So it was a very stressful time. I did end up moving to this place, and the lessons I would learn about myself, the things that would happen, again, would change how I felt about myself, changed how I looked at myself, changed what I thought about myself. And I don't know now if I would be able to even be doing this podcast without these things happening, because they gave me courage, they gave me strength and belief in myself that I could do anything. As crazy as it sounds, now that I look back and I think about these things, there was a lot I could have done to better the situation. I could have done some stuff a lot to probably not have put myself in such a dangerous spot, but I did not know. Again, I'm a city guy. I come from the city. Like, I moved out to literally a wilderness where there are dangerous animals who could kill you, who could hunt you, who could sneak up on you and just fuck your shit up and you not know. Like this whole cabin, like living up there, that whole 3 months was fucking insane. I can't even express. I cannot even, just thinking about it makes me almost speechless because I'm surprised to myself. A lot of it was work related, was picking up and moving plants, soil. I mean, I would wake up in the morning, first thing in the morning at 6, and I'd have to be down at these greenhouses at 7 every day. And there was 6 of them. They're 100 feet long, and I had to pull these tarps that are hundreds of pounds, and I have to pull them over in the morning, or excuse me, pull them down first thing in the morning, which is pretty easy because I just go to one side and I just start pulling like this through each piece. But at night, lifting it, I have to go to the other side and tie the ends with ropes. And anyone who has ever worked in the industry could tell you that shit is not easy. It would storm up there, rain, mud. There'd be moments where my car would get stuck, and I would go days, weeks without seeing anyone. There'd be times where I couldn't use the generator which ran the cabin because there was no gas, so I had to figure out, what could I run? Could I run the lights? Should I run my music equipment? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, living out there challenged me in ways that I never thought I would be challenged, and I never thought that I could actually overcome. You know, it's, again, coming from being in a city situation to being smack dab in the middle of a forest where there's no lights after a certain time. You go outside, it's pitch black. There's no mirrors. You don't see yourself for days because it's an unnecessary thing. I didn't need a mirror. Like, I'm out here working. There was no women around to look good for. You see what I'm saying? Like, and sure, I like to look good for myself, but it's lockdown. It's in the middle of March now, and no one's doing anything. People are scared to death. The world is on fucking fire, and I'm hundreds of miles out of the middle of nowhere, and I'm alone. Solitude is a bitch when you really believe there is no one coming. When you feel like you look down the road and it's just empty. Some days are rainy, some days are sweltering hot, and there's no one, just me, alone. Trying to understand what I had done to be put in such a place. Even though I do understand what I did, I said yes. There's a lot of things that, like I said, put me in the place to want to say yes to doing that. But at that time, I thought I was being punished. But it was just the opposite, you know? Like I was being blessed beyond belief in all the things that would come. To this day, I'm so thankful that I was able to overcome these trials, that I was able to live through these trials, because a lot of people may not, you know? I know now, especially now, that some of the things I've lived through or dealt with, a lot of people may never, you know? So I want to share those moments and talk about those things. I think outside of little things like that, one of the bigger trials for me would actually come only my 3rd day at the cabin, which is fucking insane. Like, really. I was there for 3 days before almost to date, one of these scariest moments of my life would happen. But I will talk to you in detail about that on the next episode. If you are interested or curious, I do post pictures, and I will continue to post pictures of the things I talk about, my trips, my adventures, and the people I meet. You can follow me on Instagram. Same name as the podcast, Linni and the Seach. That's LINNIANDTHESEARCH. I wish you all a beautiful day. Bye.
hate my